New Jersey is known for its bustling cities, beautiful shoreline, and significant historical landmarks, offering a blend of urban sophistication and scenic beauty. Today on Homeworthy, we visit 3 of the Garden State's stunning homes, from a loft in a former Wonder Bread factory to a whimsical and colorful apartment and an English-inspired residence with its own farm. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Samantha. This is my home in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'd love to show you around, so come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
I am Samantha Stathis Lynch. I'm an interior designer based out of Hoboken, New Jersey. We actually bought this loft style apartment, which was originally the Wonder Bread factory. It was built in about 1910. So we really gravitated towards this apartment specifically. We saw other apartments in the building, but this specific unit, because it seemed to have the most original character. You'll see during the tour that there's an entire wall of brick that runs the whole apartment. And there's even little areas where we have the original ironwork from when it was a factory. And since then it's had many lives. It was a furniture manufacturer. And then I think most recently, before the developers bought the building, it was a dance studio. So it's had many lives, and we loved the character, which is why we ended up here. So I live here with my husband and our 9-month-old puppy. And it's just the 3 of us, and we love it. I mean, it has a really long hallway, which the dog just runs up and down, and the building has tons of amenities, and we have outdoor space, which we did not have when we lived in Manhattan. We formerly lived in the city for quite a while. So that's one of the reasons why we ended up here. When we first came into this apartment, we knew immediately that we loved it. It was still in kind of rough shape. They were still doing construction. So, you know, not everything was perfect. The floors weren't in, for instance. The patio wasn't done. But it had these huge windows which let in tons of natural light, and you know, it had tons of exposed brick, and it really felt like a loft. My husband, who is actually English, had this dream of living in a New York City style loft apartment, and we had been searching for one for a long time, and I happened upon this spot on Google. Honestly, I was one night just sitting in bed Googling homes, as one does. And this development came up, and we contacted our broker, and he was like, oh, sure, I know that building, let's get you in. So when we first walked in, it was rough, but the kitchen cabinets were in, and they were super modern, which I didn't love. It didn't feel like it was cohesive with, you know, the history of the space, the character of the space. So we knew immediately that there were going to be things that we were going to change, but honestly, they were small tweaks. There was no, you know, major renovation or anything like that, which has been great. We'll start over here. This is where my husband works from home. Now that we're in a post-COVID world, he's in Manhattan 3 days a week, but he does work from home twice a week. So I wanted to create a nice little spot for him to, be able to focus, and he has a nice little view of some of the artwork that we've collected over the years. So this is actually a print by a very dear friend of mine who is an architectural and interiors photographer named Trevor Parker. He also is an interior designer, so he's amazing. He's like the jack of all trades. So we have this here. It's actually Delmonico's, which is down in the financial district, which is where my husband works. So he gets to look at this every day. On this wall right here, we have 2 antique prints. These I've inherited from my mother. They're English prints. My husband is actually English, so I thought it would be nice to just kind of give him a little reminder of home. They depict some areas up in North England, and he's actually from North England. And then we just have a smattering of his, personal belongings here, including a really special clock that he was given as a birthday gift. So it's really beautiful. And then from here, we go right into our living space. So we are open plan. So our living room, I wanted it to feel nice and cozy, despite the fact that we're working with 16-foot ceilings. So it feels really expansive in here. And it took us a while to acquire all of the furniture that we actually needed to make it feel cozy. These actually arrived 2 days ago. So, it's always a work in progress. I think as an interior designer specifically, our homes are kind of our laboratories. So to my husband's dismay, I'm constantly changing things and switching things out. So these chairs are very special. They were custom made from Lee Industries in a fabulous Peter Dunham textile. It kind of has a Western flair to it, and we spend a lot of time out west, so we loved these. And then this little side table I inherited again from my mother, who had amazing taste. She was actually an interior designer herself, so I'm lucky that I got to inherit a lot of the pieces from her. And then this bookshelf, which houses my husband's 82-inch TV. Really happy about that one. We had custom made by a company called Soil and Oak. We wanted it to kind of pay homage to the industrial, life that this apartment had. So we went with these industrial pipes. We had them done in this kind of powdered gold finish. So it feels a little bit contemporary, but we just kind of house all of her books and some pictures and little tchotchkes that we've collected over the years. And we also love plants. So we've got quite a few plants inside, but we have a lot more outside. So this is a vintage Danish side table, straight from Denmark. It has this kind of lattice work underneath, which is great, where we house a few books and some magazines. And then it has this beautiful, it's not vintage, but it's an older visual comfort lamp that they don't really make in the same finish anymore. So I was very happy to find this. And then our sofa is a Jenny Kane sofa. It's super comfortable. My husband is 6'5", so we needed something that was long because he likes to lounge on here all the time. So it's just in a neutral linen, which we instantly regretted once we got our dog. And then I just have a smattering of throw pillows. So this is from Robert Keim. This is Guy Goodfellow, Christopher Barcloth, Isabel, and then this is an antique Suzanne from an English company called Bertie Fortescue. And then on the end, we have a blanket that we usually keep outside. It's a Serena and Lily blanket. You can use it for picnics. You can use it on your patio. It's great. So we brought in a lot of eclectic pieces. I think that with the history of the space and the character and it being over 100 years old, We just wanted to bring back some of the elements that the developers and the contractors had stripped when they were, doing this building. We were lucky in that it was modernized, so, we have great appliances, plumbing, all that good stuff. But we wanted to just layer in vintage and antique pieces and kind of mix that with some mid-century and just color and pattern. And we put in shaker style cabinets, even though there was nothing wrong with the original kitchen cabinets, but it just didn't feel like us. And my husband and I both, while we're not 100% aligned necessarily on every design choice, he also loves kind of, character and roughness. And we wanted to make sure that that came through in the overall space. My style is eclectic, I guess is probably the word that I would use. It's a mix of old and new. I love antiquing. I've inherited antiques. I love finding vintage pieces, but I also like to bring in contemporary pieces as well. So, we have a mix here. We have new upholstery, but we have antique chests and just little pieces that make a big difference. I think that conversation between old and new, especially in today's world where, from an environmental perspective, buying what's already been used is super important, and I actually think it's gonna be the way forward. So, it just feels natural for us. So this is our patio, which gets a ton of use. I'm out here all the time when it's warm. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a rainy day today, but that's okay. We just have our, patio set up here. We have some beautiful Serena and Lily throw pillows, which we love. They just add the perfect pop of color. I have all of my plants kind of lined up here. It's still pretty early in the season, so not everything has bloomed, but we have some limelight hydrangeas. We have Russian sage, lavender, roses, which you can see are just starting to come out. Lilac tree, that's very small, but it's growing. And we just bought some plumbago, which is coming to life. So yeah, it's just a great little space. We entertain out here all the time. We have a grill. In a city, having outdoor space is a game changer. It's a godsend. Now that we have it, I don't think that I could ever move anywhere without it. So we love having this spot. So this umbrella we got at a local store. They do like garden outdoor furniture. There were a few colors in stock. We bought it last summer and we were desperate for something to give us shade because this area from about 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon is covered in sunlight, and it gets really hot because of the pavers. So we decided that we needed an umbrella as soon as possible. So we ended up finding this guy, and we just loved the black and white stripe. We just thought it was really charming. So we bought it on the spot, and it's lived here since. So one of the really cool components of living in what was once a factory is that we still get those original details. So behind me, you can see this massive smokestack that's been here for 100+ years. And it's really cool that the developers decided to keep it. It's just like fun being able to walk out onto the patio and see that little piece of history. Like I said, this was the original Wonder Bread factory. So it's pretty cool. So I would love to show you our little powder room, which is a godsend in a city apartment. So come and follow me. Okay, so this is our little powder room, which is a luxury in a city apartment. We wallpapered it in a Cole & Sons wallpaper. It's black and white, so it's a little bit moody. I mean, we don't have any natural light in here, so I thought, why not just kind of feed into that? The vanity and the tiles were here when we bought it. So this was the developer's choice. We swapped out the mirror for something with a little bit of texture and some color and some, we wanted something natural. And then we put in this little paired creation sconce, which we love. And yeah, I mean, it gets a lot of use when we entertain. It's great having a spot that people can just go in and out of very easily. And it's kind of the little jewel box for us. I mean, I always love wallpaper. So in this apartment, given how high all the ceilings are, the only logical place and cost-effective place to wallpaper was in the bathroom. So that's what I did. So when I'm sourcing antiques, I have a little bit of an interesting background actually, because I have a master's degree in fine and decorative art history. So the fine art component of that is your classic paintings and sculptures, etc. And then the decorative component is furniture, textiles, wall coverings, all that good stuff. So I'm trained to be able to identify, certain aspects of antique pieces. But when I'm sourcing for myself and for clients, I don't necessarily follow all those rules. I'm not buying a museum-worthy chair. So it's a mix. I like to go antiquing upstate or in Pennsylvania, even locally around here. There's some incredible vintage warehouses that you can find some really cool stuff. And then I also am on Cherish and First Dibs all the time. And honestly, Facebook Marketplace, you can find some great pieces there. So it's just a mix. I think there is something to be said for going antiquing, seeing something in the flesh, and when you know that you love something, buy it, because you're never gonna see it again. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about finding the vintage and the antique and all that good stuff. So the dining area, the focal point here is this stunning piece of art, abstract piece that we got from a gallery in Colorado. It's by an artist named Krista Harris. And we bought this together as a wedding gift to each other. Instead of doing the traditional, you get a gift, you open it up the day of, we found this and we fell in love. So we thought, why not get this in honor of getting married? So we did. And then here we just have a Lee Industries banquette that we put in for comfortable dining, but also if we want to work here, we can, and it's super comfy. And then we have these beautiful Serena and Lily chairs that we love. We just got these in and they're perfect. And then we just have over here, this is kind of a smattering of vintage pieces. So this is an antique French pillar, which we saw in an antique store. We absolutely loved it, and we brought it home. And then this is antique iron French mirror. So we have a lot of antiques in this area. I would say that in our home, we probably have about, I would say like 40-50. So 40% vintage or antique, and then, well, I guess it's 40-60. So then 60% new. And yeah, we have a beautiful Vaughan lamp right here with a Bunny Williams shade that I'm in love with. When I got this, I was so ecstatic because it has this really fun crackled texture to it. It's just absolutely beautiful. Moving into our kitchen, this kitchen, so when we moved in, these cabinets were white. They were made out of melamine. They were fine. They were not my style. They were not what I thought worked well with the aesthetic of the apartment. So we ended up putting in custom cabinetry just in a simple shaker style in a really dark, rich blue that has a little bit of green to it. The reason being, this space gets so much natural light that I thought something to kind of ground it a little bit would be good. We can go dark on these because when you look around you, it really doesn't look dark in here at all. This tap brings me a lot of joy. I absolutely love this thing. We had it installed probably 6 months ago. Originally, there was just a brushed nickel Kohler piece, which was fine, but I wanted brass. It's an unlacquered finish, and now every time I do the dishes, or my husband does the dishes, like it's just a little joy. Those little moments, swapping those out, the little pieces, can, bring a lot of happiness to your everyday life. And then over here, we created a little bar. Unfortunately, there's no power on this wall because we have our wonderful brick. But this was an interesting space when we first moved in. It was super raw. This, where you can see it goes in on both sides, was all cinder block, just exposed cinder block. So we were wondering what, thinking about how we could utilize the space. And so I had them make a custom bar that kind of fits into this, what I would imagine was the original doorway or, loading dock maybe when this was a factory. And then we just tiled it with some fire clay tile, and it gets a lot of use. We store a lot of stuff underneath. I will not show you that because it's quite a mess, but we do have tons of glasses. I mean, I have some, I actually strictly have vintage or antique glassware. So we have some vintage hand-cut glasses. We have some beautiful porcelain that I've inherited over the years. So yeah, it just houses all of our little fun pieces. I am an avid floral lover. I love flowers. My husband grew up in the English countryside, and he grew up in a 200-plus-year-old cottage, and his mother is an incredible gardener. So his entire property is just covered in flowers and color, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So we always have flowers in the house. These flowers, it's a mix of flowers that I picked up from the market yesterday, and then some of these are actually from an event that I did a week ago for the Lenox Hill House neighborhood and gala, and it was absolutely spectacular. So some of these have actually stayed alive. And then we have some of my favorites over here, which are delphiniums. They're so beautiful. The color is incredible. Obviously, as you can see, we love the color blue. And then over here, I made the mistake of ordering 100 viburnum. So we have so many of these stems. I was trying to fill the house with them. We have probably 60 sitting outside in a bucket because there are so many of them. And then, we just love plants, and out on our patio, I'm out there all the time in the warmer months gardening. We have roses, hydrangeas, plumbago, a lot of different stuff. And we put vegetables out there when it's nice. So yeah, we're avid gardeners and floral lovers. So we entertain fairly often. I am usually standing right here, putting together food and drinks and, hosting away. And then I would say usually these bar stools are filled. So we have 4 bar stools right here. These get filled up with people. And then behind you where our living area is, we usually have people sitting on the sofa, sitting on our chairs. The whole apartment is filled. And then we actually, if it's warm out, we'll just keep the outdoor patio door wide open, and people will be outside, inside. We'll play music. I love to cook. So between cooking and flowers, hosting is just something that I love to do. So we do have people over quite a bit. My favorite part about my home, that is tough. I think that, I love how much natural light we get. I would probably say, apart from that, maybe it's the exposed brick, because it just adds a layer of texture and warmth, honestly, that is really hard to come by. You see brick on an exterior, but not really in an interior. And it really does give it the loft vibe that, really made us buy this place in the first place. I'd love to show you the rest of the house, but first we're gonna talk about this wonderful runner that we have. So this runner was actually a gift from my father, who bought a massive rug for his home, for his dining room. And there was so much left over that they turned some of it into a runner. And he actually shipped it out from Colorado to New Jersey for me. And obviously this is a super long hallway, so not many things that you can just buy online are easy to come by. So we were very lucky in that we got to take this beautiful rug. And it's super soft, so we love it. And our dog literally runs up and down this hallway when she gets the zoomies every day. This is another print from the same person who did the print that's above my husband's desk, Trevor Parker. He took this, it's Grand Central Station. He took this during COVID, so there was no one there. And it's pretty wild to see it completely empty. And my husband absolutely loved this when he saw it online. So I bought him a massive one for his birthday. And every time we walk by it, we get to see a little bit of New York, which we love. And then over this way, firstly, we have another great rug. This is a rug that we got in Morocco. Actually, my mother bought it while we were on a family trip to Morocco, and I inherited it. So we love this thing. This is a special piece of art because this was from my aunt and uncle as a wedding present, because my husband and I got married on Lake Como, and you can actually see in this watercolor our wedding venue right there. So it was a really sweet present. They bought it while they were in Italy, and we absolutely love it. And then over here, this is another antique piece that's super special. I inherited this from my mother. I absolutely love it. I think that it's just such a charming painting. I'm not positive, but to me it looks like a Puglia landscape, because you have this, the type of home, I don't even know what they're called, that you see in Puglia, Italy. So I just love it. I just think it's charming. And then over here, we have two things. We have this wonderful photo, which we got in Colorado. My husband loved it. It's a black wolf. They're super rare, so it's pretty cool that it was captured. And then this is just an antique, I guess, letter drawer that we got. So I am of the belief that a home should tell the story of the people who live there. So as soon as you walk into a space, you should be able to identify components that make up the family and their character and their personality. So I think that what makes a home feel like home is, you know, taking your time and choosing things that you actually love, not buying fast furniture. You know, I understand that sometimes that's what has to happen, but I think that, you know, giving character to a space through items that hold a memory, or maybe that, you know, you just absolutely have to have when you see, I think that's super important. And I think that honestly, to an extent, the more furniture and decor, the better. I think that something that makes a home feel really homely is when you look around and there's furniture beyond furniture and there's art on as many surfaces as possible. I think that's really what gives a home a soul. And now over here is my office. So it was a battle with my husband over who got to use the second room as an office, but because I work in the design world and I have all these lovely fabrics and I have samples everywhere, I got the space. So I actually painted this trim work recently. I just finished it this week. It was like an off-the-cuff thing that I decided to do. It's in a beautiful Farrow and Ball color that I absolutely love. It just brings a little bit of life into the space. And then over here where my desk is, I obviously have my very large computer, but I have this very pretty antique desk that was actually my mother's desk. And when she was an interior designer, this is where she did her work. So I just felt like it was something to keep, and it's not in the best shape, but I love it so much that I can't part with it. And then this is actually a portrait of my mother as a young girl. And I just loved the colors. It's a little bit moody, but the greens and the blues, and there's a little bit of purple, I just loved. So I brought that in here as well. And then over here, we have an antique chest of drawers. I have two of these. I have one in here and I have one in my primary bedroom. And I love them. They're super special. Again, I inherited these, so I was very, very lucky. And I want to say they're like 200 years old. So they're very old. Not in the best shape. They probably should be restored. but I love them and I hide tons of stuff in here, tons of samples, all that good stuff. And then over here, this is a nifty little thing. So I use this for when I'm skiing. So I do have this and I'll put samples up here, but sometimes when I'm playing around, I'll use this surface area. What's underneath here is actually a Murphy bed. So when we do have friends and family stay over, you know, as I said, my husband is English, so we'll have, you know, people visiting for extended periods of time. This can pull out and it becomes a queen size bed, which is great. And it's actually very comfortable. So this is a print that I got from when I was working for a company called One Kings Lane before I decided to go off and work on my own. And we used to have these crazy warehouse sales for the staff, and this was on sale. I mean, it's cracked. So anything that we weren't selling to customers, we had, you know, dibs on. So I got it and I love it. I mean, it's just so pretty with the flowers and the greens and the yellows. And then this painting, my grandmother actually painted. So I've kind of grown up around creatives. I mean, my mother was a designer. My grandmother was not a professional artist, but she painted a lot. So I think that's always kind of influenced me in a lot of different ways. This is our primary bedroom. Again, we have these super high ceilings. There's no brick in this space, but it's kind of nice because I was able to paint everything in this beautiful Pharaoh and Ball color that I use all the time, Cromartie. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's a green, it has a little bit of gray in it, and it just is so soothing and calming, and that's really what I wanted to evoke in this room. So our big bed, we've had this bed for years, the bed frame. It's seen better days, but we love it, so we've kept it. The bedding is by Serena and Lily. It's this beautiful pistachio color, which kind of plays with the walls nicely. And then it has this crisp white, which has this beautiful embroidery. It's a sateen, which is super soft. I swear my husband slept in these for the first time and was like, this is the most comfortable bedding I've ever slept in. Like, we're never using any of the other sheets. So they're very nice and they're super comfortable and super beautiful. And then over here, we have a pair of vintage chairs that I drove all the way out to the North Fork of Long Island to pick up. And I had reupholstered in a PRFA fabric, which I absolutely love. These were originally in our living room with this rug. However, our puppy destroyed the rug that was in our bedroom. So I decided to kind of switch it up a little bit. As the designer always does, it was kind of an opportunity to change things. So we brought the rug and the chairs into the bedroom, and it actually works great because the background color of this fabric is pretty much the same color as the wall. So it's perfect. And then this is the twin to the chest that we have in my office. Again, we house a lot of stuff in here. So it's super useful as well as being, you know, beautiful. You can see on the bottom, my puppy had a nice time on it, which is pretty sad, but that's okay. Adds character. And then we have this massive drape that comes all the way across the window. The shade store did this for us. It's huge, it's super heavy. I didn't really know how to properly dress this window. I have to sleep in blackout. I don't like having light. So the only option was really to just go with one massive curtain. So on our window, again, this window was so big that I needed to come up with a way to make it look pretty, make it feel full. So what I did was I bought all of these antique books that are actually not, you know, there's no color on them. They're neutral, which just felt kind of calm for a bedroom. We live with a lot of color. I love color and pattern. Our living room has tons of it. And we do have pattern and color in here, but I wanted it to feel a little bit calmer. So it's pretty cool though. Some of these have gold leafing on them. It's probably kind of hard to tell, but so it's all gold leaf here, which is really special. And you know, you don't really notice it from afar, but when you're looking at it up close, it's just a little bit of pizzazz. So we have a bunch of these. which I just love. I think that the sort of unbound look is really cool. I mean, like the texture that you get from something like this is really unexpected, but it's just absolutely beautiful. And you know, these are old and they're hand done, and it's old paper, and it smells like an old library, which I love. And then we just have, again, some Serena and Lily lamps here. Another print by my friend Trevor Parker. This is actually of Perry Street in the West Village, an area that we spent a lot of time in. So I thought, why not bring a little piece of the West Village to Hoboken? These are two landscape paintings. One of them is of a place that's very near and dear to my heart, Telluride, Colorado. I grew up spending a lot of time out there, so just reminds me of my favorite place on earth. And then this is actually antique, and it's super old, and it's really pretty. I mean, you can see that it's not in the best condition, it's chipping, but I love it, so I kept it. And I'm gonna take you into our bathroom. This is our primary bathroom. We're actually about to wallpaper it, so it's gonna look a little different soon, but you know, it's just your typical bathroom. We have a double vanity, which is a luxury in a city. And you know, it's useful, we like it. So yeah, it's nothing crazy, but it does the job. Home is a space that you feel safe in, that you feel connected to, and that you love going to every day, right? We're here a lot, especially in a post-COVID world where things have changed. You know, you should love everything that goes into your home. That might take time. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, we moved in here about 2 years ago, and we're still bringing in pieces that we find and switching things out. And it's totally fine if it's not immediate when you first move into a space. But I think that I love coming home and seeing all these little pieces that remind me of a certain time or a certain place, and that just really bring joy, right? I mean, I changed our kitchen tap, and even that little thing makes doing the dishes a lot better. So I think that home is just a place that you should walk into and fall in love with all over again, every time.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tamiko. Welcome to my home in New Jersey. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Tamiko Hargrove. I'm the founder of A Wanderlust Home, a luxury accessories home decor business. We are at my home in Montclair, New Jersey, and I would love to show you around. I've been living here for 14 years, and it has been, I'm a New Yorker originally, born and raised in New York City, and I never thought I would be in New Jersey 14 years later. And a friend who lived in New Jersey, we used to work together years ago, and I came to visit her. And I was at the time looking for a place just to move on and try something new. And she suggested I come to this community called Montclair in New Jersey. And I thought, I don't think so, but you know, she convinced me, just go look at it, just go check out the town and the property, and because she kind of knew my style and what I liked, and I still, nothing was going to convince me I was going to move to New Jersey. And sure enough, her husband said, let's go, we have a viewing, we just kind of threw you in to see this place. And 14 years later, I never left. My taste has changed over time. So 14 years, it has evolved from just like beginning stages of me kind of practicing interiors and accessorizing and staging, just kind of trying to figure out what my aesthetic is. I didn't know what it was. I just knew what I liked, but I didn't really know how to put it together. So I started, you'll see around in a couple of minutes, some of the decor books that I have that I'm kind of self-taught. And I just kind of studied styles and colors, and friends who are designers, I would watch them and see how they would put things together. And I, oh my gosh, in the beginning, I used a lot of beige and pink. And in my eye, I thought it worked. It looked great, and it looks completely different than what it does right now. So over time, it evolved from me kind of not knowing what I'm doing to kind of really understanding my style. This is what I love. This is how I want it to look. This is my aesthetic. So here we are. So here we are in the most colorful space in my apartment. This is all where I join the colors, saturations, the things that I love to kind of testing my practice, if you will. I want to start off with this gorgeous, gorgeous carpet that kind of helped create the coloring in the space. This beautiful spotted pebble carpet in emerald green. It's by Jennifer Manners, who I love. She's a British designer, textile designer in New York and in London. And it has all the different emeralds. Like emeralds can be a dark emerald, it can be a light emerald. And it has all the variations of emeralds, which was perfect to go with my emerald sofa because it is in front of the window and it has faded over time. So it's not as bright as it used to be, but that's okay. I never got it protected. That's why the carpet is so perfect, because it kind of have all of those emerald variations to help bring out the green, the new emerald green in the carpet, in the sofa. Again, more pink that I throw in because pink and green I think are great together. Here are some lampshades from my company, A Wanderlust Home. They're from Paris. As I said, I travel all over the world and I source these gorgeous pieces. And these lampshades are by Casa Lopez in Paris, France. And they're so cool. And I love that the material is throughout. So there's no hard piece on the inside. It's all silk fabric throughout. So you really get the pretty lighting. You really get to see the color of the lampshade, and also my hobnails, which are from Czech Republic, that more green and more pink. So the pink and the green, again, I kind of tied together because I think it's a really cool combination. But yeah, this, I don't know if you can really see it because it is filled with water, but when the light hits the hobnail, the colors are so stunning. So these wall pictures, they're by Van Gogh, these prints. And it's a funny story behind them. I was looking for something to go on the walls and I wanted like 3 pictures on each end. And I had something temporary here before. There were like some black frames with some images in them. And it just wasn't really the look I was going for. And I was working in a store years ago at a shop, and some guys walked in with these Van Gogh prints, and they were selling them, and they were like, we'll take cash, we're selling 6 of them. I don't think that they're real. They could be. I have no idea. I never got them appraised. I never looked to check. I just said, yes, I will take them. And I bought them on the spot in cash, and it was exactly what I was looking for. So here are the Van Gogh prints. If you're familiar with Van Gogh, you will know what each of these are. And then there are 3 more over here. And this one is, so this is really funny because the one on the bottom is not sized properly. It's not straight. It's not on the wall. It's supposed to be the other way. It's wrong. But you don't notice it. Maybe you do, but it works. So I have a little plant here covering the wrong size, how it's displayed. But I love it. Here's another lampshade from my company called A Wonderless Home. This is the Casa Lopez lampshade, and this is in the blue, and it's gorgeous. Again, you see how the coloring, there's no filling inside, so it's all fabric all around, so the color pops through really lovely. So these are my blue and white plate collections, or not mine, but just some plates that I purchased through flea markets or you know, antique shops that I love. I love blue and white, so you'll see blue and white throughout my home. But blue is one of my favorite colors, so it just works. And I just kind of eyeballed it, and you know, hopefully it came out right, and it did. And I made a lot of mistakes, so you will see, well, you won't see, thankfully, but there are many mistakes of holes in the wall. And if my landlord is watching this, I'm so sorry. But yeah, this is the result of how it came out, and I'm so happy with it. And these sconces are actually, they're not wired in. They are just, you know, drilled into the wall, not hardwired. And I have puck lights in there. So it kind of gives the effect that they are hardwired and they are real sconces. But I kind of did a faux sconce, if you will, to create a sconce. And they're so far apart because I had something else there. I needed a placeholder to fix what was there before, and it works. So although they're really far apart, it kind of works on this wall, in this space, because there's so much going on the wall. I don't have them typically, traditionally, like side by side, a picture, an art piece. I have them really far apart because honestly, this whole wall is kind of a focal point, and then the sconces kind of adds a little bit of something, je ne sais quoi, to the wall. So then we have more blue and white on my antique. This is actually a dresser, and I used it as a TV stand because I didn't like the typical look of TV stands. And based on what I have going on in this room, I wanted something really special. And I found it at an antique shop here in town, called Jerry's, and I've shopped there a lot, and it's really, they have really, really cool stuff. And I found this dresser, and I actually have some of my pieces in here, like my placemats, some candles, some of my candle holders, because I don't have a lot of storage. So some of it is stored in here. I'm not going to open it up because it's not super neat, but it works. And these remind me of, these are Wedgwood. They're authentic. And I'm kind of giving like almost like a Marie Antoinette theme here, which is what I like. Again, me being very whimsy and quirky. And this is not a Samsung television. This is a regular LG, and this is a screensaver from YouTube. And I like that it changes. It kind of flips into a different image, but all the colors work for this space. So I always have this going on with some French music in the background, and it's like my happy space. So the frame is actually literally a wood piece, painted in a metallic gold, which I did here too. The original color on this was not what it is now. It was like a kind of a muted gold that wasn't really attractive. So I painted it to make it brighter, and I did the same with this frame. So I literally, it's like a Velcro stick to the frame of the television. So, I mean, it's a little choppy right now. I'm not going to point out all the quirks of the details, but it works. From a distance, it works. So it kind of creates this gallery wall without it being hung on the wall. It's still on its stands, but I've hid them with my more blue and white. I hid them with my blue and white china vases here, and more of Wedgwood. So it works. It kind of creates more of this this whimsy gallery wall of all that I love. And then we have more blue and white with these garden chairs that I'm using for indoor. So I found these at a shop in town, and they were sitting outside of the shop, and they were for sale, but I didn't realize that they were for sale because I always saw the salesperson sitting on them. So I finally walked by and I saw a price tag on them, and I asked, are these for sale? And the guy said, yeah. And I said, well, I didn't know they were for sale because you're always sitting on it. So I didn't know if it was part of your relaxing chair while you were taking a break. And he says, well, yeah, I have two. This is one of the two. And I said, I want them because it kind of went with the blue and white that I have going on. And I found this gorgeous antique pillow that I found at another antique shop. I love antiquing and you find really cool things. And I thought it was great to add into my space beside next to the dresser or TV stand or whatever you want to call it. and I can store my magazines because I'm a hoarder of magazines as well. So I have every design magazine, not everyone, but most of them. And it allows me to display them so I can see them and grab them and look through them and study them and resource and all of that. And then my coffee table, which is, my orchid. And honestly, it's not real. It's an artificial orchid that I'm not afraid to say it because it works and I don't have to worry about it dying and waiting a year for it to grow back. It just works in this space with all the colors I have going on. More blue and white, my blue and white garden stool, which was what I love. And then I have my bowl of matches that has my logo on it. So every time someone gets a candle, they receive one of these matchbooks with a Wanderlust Home logo with a beautiful fuchsia pink door. More pink. so there you have it. So they're here, and whenever someone comes or if they just want to take a match, they can, and more pink in the space. But again, it ties all the green and the blue. It kind of ties it all together. It's a room of happy, a room of colors that when I wake up in the morning, this is where I come and sit and have my coffee, where I'm watching an episode of whatever, and it's my space of happy, of feel good. And there you have it. So now we're going to go into the next room, which is the dining room. What makes my home come alive is the energy that I bring to it, and it's how I put it together that makes it mine, that makes it feel like me. It's not me mimicking someone else. It's not me trying to create something to impress other people. It is my home the way that I see it, the way that it makes me feel comfortable and safe and secure. My friends laugh at me, but I call it grandma's house glammed up because I like a lot of really comforting antiques and beautiful pieces like sofas and pillows, and it's like visiting grandma's house, which is really cozy, but it's not a place where it's, you go to grandma's house and it's just for a visit. You don't go to grandma's house to stay. So I want you to stay here when you come in. It's grandma's glam, with lots of colors, lots of textures, just a comforting place where I feel really cozy and safe and secure here. So now we are in my dining room, and I am a lover of tablescape. So everything you see here is part of a Wanderlust home that you can purchase. The plates, the glassware, the table mat. I'm getting ready for spring, so this is kind of a spring look I am trying out. The only thing that's not from my business is the paper fleur, gorgeous paper flowers, what I love. I have obsessed over these for months, and I finally got my own, and I love it, and it goes perfect with my theme that I have going on. And it's about springtime, it's about Easter, it's about people coming together, it's about renewal. So I have all these pretty colors that you can, it feels like it's tea time in here, but that's what it's about. It's about just people coming over, inviting people for brunch, lunch, breakfast, whatever, to celebrate spring that's coming. This is also from my collection, the wicker ginger jars, which also kind of embodies spring's arrival. The wicker, the rattan, that's coming out now. And I actually call this room the blue room because obviously the walls are blue. But it also has everything that's in it, has every image has blue in it. So this picture here, that kind of reminds me of me. Just kind of in, it's, I don't, it says MH. I don't know who the artist is. I'm so sorry if you're watching and I didn't mention your name, but I don't know. I got it from Joss in Maine. I just saw it and thought, I love this image. It's kind of reminded me of a girl that's just kind of in chill mode. And that's me. I'm kind of always relaxed and in chill mode. And it's kind of almost like a beachy theme, where I have, you know, the lady on the beach. I have the images in front of me are of the sea, of lighthouses, the blue and white on the Roman shades. It kind of brings a sense of calm in this room. This is my corner office in the dining room. Yes, I'm limited in space. I don't have a separate office, so I have to use the space that I have. And my home office is in this corner in the dining room, and it works. You'll find mirrors in every room in my home. I'm not a vain person. I think mirrors are artwork. I think they can display as an art piece, not just to always look at yourself in. So I love the shape of these mirrors. And I put them here in the corner wall, like with some Hermes boxes. That's also more decorative books that I love, more fashion magazines, and this enormous piece of art that I had no idea was this big. I didn't look at the measurements properly. Thank goodness I had the wall space for it, but when it arrived, it's from Anthropology. It was huge, and I thought, whoa, where am I going to put this? And it kind of fits here, and you can see, I'm not afraid to show you some of the home mistakes I made, because I was like, it's too tall, it's too short, it's too, where do I align it with the door? Like, it was just enormous. So I made it work. I like that it's here, and it kind of brings out all the colors in the room. Here's my bar area. I'm not a huge drinker, but I just have usually just some scotch. I love scotch, and you know, I have a wine fridge here with some wine, but I don't really have a huge bar going on. Some of my pieces are in here that I sell, that can fit in this cabinet, which I've had forever. This is an old Crate and Barrel cabinet. I think I've had for 20 years. I'm not kidding you. And it's still here, and it works. I love it. This is 20 years old, and it looks like I just got it. So good job, Crate and Barrel. And just my little bench with my sailboat. I love the sea. I'm not a cruise person, but I just like being near the water, on the water, in the water. I just love, so I saw this yacht, this miniature yacht, and I said I had to have it. And it kind of goes with the blue room. It kind of goes with, you know, the lighthouse, the beach, the theme. That I didn't do it on purpose. It kind of happened to be that way. I'm just so drawn to kind of the blue and the calm and the serenity of the water. I kind of created this room, not realizing that's what I was creating it around. And then more blue and white here, and these gorgeous, I love these. They remind me of balloons. These are from Kravitz, and I just loved the shape of them. They literally remind me of blown balloons, but in glass, and it just kind of went perfect in this fun, whimsical room. With more of my blue and white. And you'll also find that I'm a big fan of Buddhas. Again, I'm all about energy. I'm all about bringing good vibrations and good vibes in my space and around me. So I have a Buddha around, and just creating some really cool things that make me happy. So the trick to kind of putting different patterns and colors together, honestly, personally for me, I don't go by rules. I'm not a rule person where I follow the color wheel and it's like, this has to go with this. I think I just have an eye for things, and if it looks good in my eye and for me, it's going to work. So for instance, this console here, this glass console I got from Wayfair, which I couldn't believe it was from Wayfair, but I love it. Since it's glass and lucite, I just wanted to keep it really simple and clean. So it's already a beautiful piece that you don't want to take away from it too much. So it's just kind of staying within the blue and white. So if you're in the same color, I think you can go with a different texture or a different shape or a solid versus, a pattern. And even if you wanted to mix it up with some color, I think it's what makes you feel comfortable and what makes you happy. I'm not into rules. I'm a rule breaker. I don't follow the trend. I create my own. So I think based on what you see in this space, it's part of even my tablescape. I didn't necessarily say I wanted it to be blue and pink. I just had my beautiful antique plates that I wanted to display. And usually I have a different color plate on every seat because every person that's sitting at this table is going to be different. So I'm always inviting people to be different, be themselves. We're not the same. And that's what my style and my decor and my aesthetic is. Like, I'm not like anyone else. When you see what I'm representing, it's going to be different from someone else's. So here is my plate collection of things that I curate. So we have some really pretty, and everything is hand painted. So they're designed in London and they're made in Spain. So really pretty, like whimsy colors and shapes for entertaining. And then I also I antique as well. So what you see on my table now, these are antique. So these are old, they're not new. And so are these gorgeous like tea plates. I love these. These are from London. I found during my last trip there at an antique shop that I was totally obsessed with. And then these are more new that are from my collection as well. These gorgeous, gorgeous plates, hand painted with again, pink, which is what I love. The speckles of pink here with the painted emerald green. I sold a lot of them, but these are what's left. And then here's another colorway, and they're gorgeous. Look how pretty these are. It's perfect for spring. This is one of my favorite pieces. This is an antique leaf plate from the 1800s, I believe. Don't fact check me on that, or if you can fact check me on it. It's on my website. It's probably one of the most expensive pieces because this is an original from London. So I'm obsessed with it. I have two, and I'm contemplating if I want to keep it for myself because they're so beautiful. But they're gorgeous. I love a lot of color. Like, color to me, it makes me happy. It makes me, it just brightens my day. I'm not someone who tones down color. I'm not afraid to use color. I used to be. So my business, A Wanderlust Home, it is based on me traveling all over the world, wanderlust, right? So it's me kind of curating more color from other countries and bringing that to my home and everybody else's home. So it started after the pandemic with this kind of craving to travel. And during the pandemic, I was decorating and remodeling, and I was stuck at home and looking at things that I put off for years or months. And now I'm forced to kind of change it because I'm tired of looking at it. So it kind of started from there. And then I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find these really unique pieces that I wanted in my home. You know, places where I usually shop didn't have the look I was going for. And I thought, maybe this is an opportunity to create something where people can come to me to find that unique, find that something different for their home. And of course, bring the color to it. So if you see, you'll see the color in my home and some of the accessories. It's bright, it's bold, it's colorful, it's pretty, very whimsical. Which is, you know, it's my personality, very quirky, and I love to laugh and have fun and be joyous. And that's what I bring to my business and my products. So now we are in my kitchen. And I have to laugh at this because this is my vacuum that I need to charge. So again, I don't have a lot of closet space. So I had to find a place to put my cleaning device, which is my vacuum, on a wall. But I made it pretty with some decorative plates above here so it doesn't look too harsh on the eyes when you're looking at my vacuum cleaner entering the kitchen. So this is my kitchen. It's really small. It's really tiny. I'm able to fit an island in here, thankfully, but it's a functioning kitchen. I do a lot of cooking. Whenever I'm entertaining, for some reason, everyone ends up in the kitchen. So we're all hanging out here, drinking and talking and laughing, versus in the dining room, everyone feels more comfortable doing it in here. So, I love that. So, more animals, my rabbits that are here. This is where my cooking happens. Literally, I want everything accessible when I need it. So this is my small corner where I make some really fabulous meals, and everything is right at my hands when I need it, and it's great. And including Oliver when he's hungry. He is scratching and meowing and rubbing on me to feed him. And these are his bowls that are also from A Wanderlust Home. Right, Ollie? I love colorful doors. So I painted this door red as a pop. And it's this is an image that I put here of a mother and her child. And I just love that because it reminds me of my mom. So I got it and put it here. And also, she was a cook, so it was just appropriate to have this in the kitchen when I'm cooking. It reminds me of her when I was a child and her in the kitchen. And these are some DIY things that, and you'll see it's a rental, so I didn't want to invest too much. But this countertop is a peel and stick paper, and you can see the line. I'm not embarrassed to show you. It's real that, listen, I didn't want to spend money on a new countertop, so I did it myself, and this was kind of maybe a poor DIY job, but it is what it is, and it works because I hated what looked underneath it, which was a marble thing, and it just was not pretty to the eye. So I covered it in this white peel and stick, and I also did the same with these cabinets. They were wood, and I did a peel and stick in a blue, more blue, and it's kind of peeling off here. And I wanted to just show that I'm real and this is a living space, and things kind of get worn down because I use things. So yeah, I thought this blue was like a grass clothy kind of blue from Amazon, peel and stick, which was great. And I chose to do peel and stick because I thought painting them would be more difficult and more of a headache, which actually doing this was the headache, and I wish I had painted them. So, but they're done, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then also this backsplash, what I put on the wall just to kind of give a little bit of some interest. I wanted to create, adding some blue again. I love blue in every room. And it kind of works. It's kind of like this, I want to say penny tile, but penny tile is a little bit bigger than this, so maybe a pebble tile creation. And it kind of mimics the carpet, the Jennifer Manners carpet in the living room, but in blue. So it kind of works. It's kind of cool. And it's added a shelf here. The shelf didn't come with the wall. I added a shelf, put some of my favorite pieces there that I love, some antiques. This isn't a real Wedgwood. It's a replica, which I still love. I love the coloring of it. And this is a portable dishwasher because this is a small apartment. And when I moved in 14 years ago, there were no dishwashers in the apartment. So I had to buy a portable countertop one, which works great. It's clean. I'm not going to open it up. But in order to make it more appealing, I covered it in copper. My little cart here, I covered in copper as well, the top, and changed the hardware and the knobs. And you'll just see little pops of copper pop up. And I just wanted to just utilize that over in the kitchen. But this was fun to do. And you can kind of see, it's bubbling a little bit, but it warms up my kitchen. It was silver, like the sink, and it just was it wasn't doing something. And I thought if I covered it in copper, and now it sings in this room. So I love it. I am always cooking. Honestly, I can do a mean, pasta bolognese, which is like so easy and fun. Grilled chicken with vegetables. My favorite grilled chicken recipe is by Anna Garten. It is my go-to. I don't even look at the recipe. I have it embedded in my head of how to make it. I make it all the time. I feed Oliver some chicken. He loves when I make fresh chicken. And these are some cookbooks that I'm not into looking at, things online. I do, but I still like collecting some good cookbooks that I look through when I want to create something interesting and good. But I love being in the kitchen. This is like my therapy when I'm cooking something, and especially when it takes a really long time, I'm really into it, where it can take like the prep time is like 45 minutes and then the cooking time is like an hour. I love that. It's my therapy. It kind of keeps me grounded. I'm home, I'm cooking, I'm either eating it for myself or I'm serving it for someone. They're enjoying it. It's a warm feeling when you make a home cooked meal and someone's enjoying it beside yourself. So here we are in my tiny, tiny bathroom. Honestly, I didn't really know what to do with this room. The walls were white at first. Everything was white. It was very stark because I just thought that was safe. I didn't want to add too much color in here to make it look even smaller. I didn't want to feel like I was suffocating. So I finally realized, okay, I have to jazz it up a little bit. How can I jazz this up? So I started to create a gallery wall. So I have a gallery wall of some of my favorite images, things that inspire me. Some of them are magazine cutouts, and I put them in really cool frames. This one is one of my favorites because it's Mademoiselle. Remember that magazine? And it went out of business a few years ago. And I love that it has July 25 cents. Like the magazine was 25 cents. I don't know what year that was, but I thought that was so cool and I had it framed. And yeah, it's just some things that inspire me that I love, some fashion, I've had this little thing here. I don't even know where I got it, and it's probably my age. It's so old, but it works. And again, I'm a hoarder of really cute things. I'm glad I don't throw anything away because I'll always find space for it someplace. And again, just, more art, gallery wall of some things, and no closet space. So I have this kind of big mirrored, I don't know, chest in here. What would you call this? To house my towels and linens because I don't have any space for it. So it's really tight in here when, I'm, trying to get myself together. These vanity lights, yeah, they're old school, but you know what? I can't see, and it provides really great lighting when I'm putting my makeup on. So I need the good light in here. So this provides a good light. I don't want sconces. I want like these kind of old school lights work for me. So I enjoy my tiny bathroom. It's cozy and I made it work. for the size that it's in. So enough of this room. Let's go into the boudoir. Now we are entering my bedroom, the primary suite. This room is super special to me. Number one, first reason, I designed this bed that you see. It is my first furniture design piece, upholstered piece, and I'm so proud of how it turned out. It is called the Felicia bed. I named it after my mom. And it makes the room. It is like so wide. I have the back drapery that I hung myself. I almost killed myself trying to get this long 144-inch rod on the wall, but I did it because I'm so determined to make things happen. I don't care what it takes. And I knew that when I designed this bed, I picked out the upholstery. I knew I wanted a specific color. I wanted it to be like, again, the blue that I'm bringing now into my bedroom. So this room is now more of a calming space. It doesn't have as much color. It doesn't have, it's just two colors. It's like a light blue, an off-white, and a white, just to kind of keep it really calm, spa-like, relaxing. This is my place where I need to go to sleep at night, where I need to take away all the stress, anything that's bothering me. It goes away in this room. I knew that once this bed was designed and I saw it was finally installed in my home, I needed some really beautiful bedding to go with it. So bedding is not my forte. I'll just throw a nice, blanket on it, and it's like, although I'm a decorator, like the bedding I'm not really into. As long as it looks clean and the sheets and the bedding matches in terms of color, I'm okay with. So I called my dear friends at Boll and Branch who curated this bed style for me. They did this for me. Like they saw the bed, they said, send me pictures of the bed. I did, and they literally put this together for me. I kid you not. And I can never do something like this. So I'm so grateful for them because it matches the aesthetic perfectly. And then, so the design of this bed, you see, it's like a wing. It kind of gives you, how I designed it. I wanted it something that was really wide and not so like straight and just kind of cookie cutter straightforward. I wanted something with a curve, something really nice. And I feel like it gives me a hug at night when I'm going to sleep. It kind of has these wings that go in. So with that, I needed side tables that would fit in these little nooks that honestly was not easy to find. So I'm designing some side tables, but I want them to be perfect. So they're not ready yet. So in the meantime, I was looking for side tables that you would think you can find, round side tables with drawers. So not easy to find. And I was on Facebook Marketplace, which I've never purchased from there before. This was my first time. I'm a seller on Facebook Marketplace. I've never been a buyer. And I just said, let me see what's on here. And I saw these tables. The guy just posted them maybe within 5-10 minutes. And I reached out to him and said, are these available? And he said, yes. I'm like, I'm picking them up tomorrow. And he says, no problem. And when I got them, they did not look like this. So they needed a little TLC. I stained them. They were like a light walnut maybe. And I knew I wanted them to be a dark wood, like a super, super dark, like not mahogany, but a darker wood. And I got some stain and I stained them. So they still have some scuffs and marks on them. And I don't mind that too much. They're just temporary placeholders until my tables are made. But they work. And I added these really pretty knobs and they look like, I told my friend, you know what? If I send these tables to that guy, he's going to want them back. And he's like, yeah, he will. And so I really kind of glammed them up. And I love them. I mean, I am replacing them, but I like how they look now. This is the place that's the quiet place where I come in, I read a book. I have my collection of books here, some of my favorites. Ollie has his bed here, my little Oliver, but he prefers my bed, so he'll get out of his bed and jump into my bed, and I don't blame him. I get it. And here's my little cozy. This is an antique chair that I found at an antique shop locally in town, and they had just received it from an estate sale, and I thought, do I need to change the upholstery on it? But I loved the kind of the pinstripe. It's just so fun. I guess because it's pink, more pink, and there's the pink in the room with the blue. And I just loved it. But if you come around to see the damage when you have a cat, what a cat can do. So yeah, when he gets angry with me or requires more attention, this is what he does. And I didn't even realize it until I had to move the chair one day. And I said, are you kidding me? This is what you've been doing when you're back there? And that's his way of letting me know he's angry. So, yep. So thank God it's facing the wall. So I'm not going to get it reupholstered because the new one will get the same treatment. So it is what it is. And then this is, again, this room is just very simple. It's not a lot of stuff going on because I think the bed kind of screams like I'm here and you don't need to do anything else. So this is another antique piece that I found from Jerry's locally in Montclair, which is a really cool antique shop. And it's literally, I always have these stories when I'm looking for something and I obsess over something so much, it comes to me. And I was obsessing over a dresser. This was maybe a year ago. And I walked past his shop and this was sitting outside in the blazing heat that he just got it from an estate sale. And I thought, this must be sold. There's no way this is available. Like, it's been sitting out here. Someone has probably grabbed it by now. And sure enough, he said, nope, I just got it. Like, I just brought it back maybe an hour ago. And I'm like, it's sold. Like, I want it. And he's like, all right, give me a deposit and it's yours. And I did. So it just works perfectly in this room with the wood that's on the chair, with the side tables. It's just awesome. And more flowers and with pink, because I got to bring pink in every room. And these gorgeous flowers are from a good friend of mine. Her name is Maritza Walton. She has a beautiful floral cafe bar called Cafe de Flora. And it's like, just imagine these florals in her shop when you're going to have coffee or tea. So she was beautiful. She was nice enough to make something for me. And there they are. And more art. Just, again, I'm kind of a feminist where I'm all about girl power, Women's History Month. And I have women displayed everywhere in my bedroom. So here's a woman on the wall here. There's a woman on the wall there. There's a woman on the floor there. So you'll see images of women throughout my house because I'm just reminding myself of how far we've come and where we're going. And it's all about girl power and women empowerment. And I want to remind myself of that when I come home. Home to me is a place that you feel safe. There's so much going on outside. There's, there's the city, the life, there's always something going on, the noise outside of the walls. And I think once I come home, all of that disappears. Like, I feel so good when I walk through my door. I feel comforted. I feel safe. I feel secure. I feel this is a place that I want to come home to. I look forward to coming home. I look forward to leaving the noise outside and coming home to my sanctuary.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're visiting Park Ridge, New Jersey to tour the home and farm of blogger and antique enthusiast Callie Svensson. Callie and her husband transformed this former Italian Tuscany-style home into an English countryside haven. Inspired by her love of equestrian and farm life, Callie decorates with antiques and secondhand finds. She wants her home to feel lived in and even lets their pet pig, Pikachu, roam the halls. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. For today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Callie. Welcome to my home in New Jersey. Come on in, I'd love to show you around. My name is Callie Svensson. I'm a content creator and welcome to my home. We are in Park Ridge, New Jersey, and welcome to my English country take in our little town of New Jersey. I've lived in this home for about 3 years. We purchased it and it was very Italian, Tuscan, and there's nothing wrong with Italy, but it just didn't speak to me, to my personality, or really to the home and its bones. So I kind of looked for identifying factors in this McMansion, in this 2000s build, and tried to give her some identity. And I found that using my passion of horseback riding, of farming, and some of the architectural features that we were able to create this gorgeous, thrifted, and mostly secondhand English country home. I live here with my husband and my 3 children. And then we have a lot of animals that I live here with, so I don't know if they count, but we have 2 horses, a goat, pig, chickens. So it is quite a farmhouse. Welcome to my foyer. Here we are in the center of the home, and I think it's super important that when you walk into a home, it tells exactly who you are. You should be able to identify you as a person, and I think you can easily identify immediately that I love old things and that I love antiques. This whole table was thrifted. It was found secondhand. I got the table at an auction. The silver pitcher is actually a hand-me-down from my great-grandmother. This was another auction. So even to the rugs were secondhand and thrifted. I found this in a great antique store in Connecticut. And then I love to incorporate the idea of horseback riding and horses. They are such a passion of mine. So you can see that I added little details like a riding helmet, some gorgeous horse plates, really pretty Staffordshire antique blue plates to bring in the English touches. And then on this side, you can see I have another pair of antique riding boots, a gorgeous thrifted chair. And then if you look up above, we found this gorgeous chandelier from Facebook Marketplace for $200, and it originally retailed for $8,000. So that's one of my big scores. I think that antique shopping and thrift shopping can be really daunting, and a lot of people don't know where to start. My favorite place is Facebook Marketplace. I think that the prices are the best. A lot of times when you go to auctions and antique stores, they've already been marketed up a little bit and you're bidding against other people. But by talking directly to the buyer, you can sometimes negotiate a better price. And don't pin yourself into a certain region when you're looking at Facebook Marketplace. There are shipping options available. People are actually happy to ship smaller things like curtains. So widen your search, broaden your search. For me personally, living in New Jersey, there is big horse country in lower New York, like Westchester and Greenwich, Connecticut. And so I often go and try to score things in those areas because they really will speak to my country decor. The first time I walked into this home and I saw these staircases, I think my husband and I immediately thought that a child was going to get married and come down the stairs like a father of the bride moment. We love them and we love the statement that it makes. When we purchased the home, the walls were very dark and it didn't look like this. We wanted to brighten everything up. And while I know a lot of English country homes don't have a lot of white, we actually chose a cream-based paint for this, so the walls aren't so bright and stark and the light reflective value is better. And then eventually, and again with thrifting, not everything happens right away, we would love to continue to create gallery walls up along these staircases to mimic old English country homes. Come on upstairs with me and you'll see some of these gorgeous paintings. This one, my husband and I actually brought back from Paris. We went to the Parisian flea market and we put it in the overhead compartment coming home. The flight attendant wasn't very happy with us, but it made it home and he's beautiful. This was another auction piece, and then this was a Facebook marketplace, and everything all together was probably under $500 for everything. And another tip is to try to find the frame included when you're looking for paintings and artworks, because it just will make the process so much easier. Here is another view of the chandelier. I actually put this on my content on Instagram and TikTok, but we actually went to go install this used chandelier and it fell. So if we had a very big Phantom of the Opera moment. We've learned very quickly to make sure we leave some of the major things to professionals. But you can see that we have little marks in our wood floor now, and it kind of tells the story of our accident and lesson well learned when trying to do things yourself. We got the chandelier for such a great price. It was, close to $10,000 originally. We scored it on Facebook Marketplace for $250. We went to go hang it, and unfortunately it fell from the top straight down. The glass shattered everywhere. And it's kind of a custom glass piece. So when looking to replace glass, a lot of times flat panels will be easy, no problem. This has a curve and a custom curve at the top. I called a million glass places. They weren't interested in replacing them. We called the company, and each panel was over $300 to replace. So my husband and I got a little thrifty, and we actually used plexiglass to replace the panels. There's one real glass panel in there, and then the rest is actually plexiglass that we ordered off of Amazon and we cut. And you can use plexiglass with these bulbs because they're LED and they don't emit heat. The internet wasn't very happy with us. So the moldings are original to the house. That was actually built, and those moldings were actually what kind of led my direction in English country direction. They looked very colonial, Georgian, and so I took those into account when trying to drive the design factor and reshifting the identity of this McMansion, because she really lacked any identity. This gorgeous, handsome young man we found at an auction, and we paid $50 for him. And sometimes when you're at an auction, you can't tell how big something is going to look. This was one of the times that I didn't check the measurements, and I thought for sure he was smaller. My husband called me on the way home from picking him up, and he was like, "You'll never guess how big it is." And I'm like, "Oh gosh," I'm like, what do we do? What do we do here? But he's great. We got him for such a score, such a great piece. He came framed, and he ended up being the first portrait that we hung in our foyer, and then kind of inspired us to continue and move on to the other wall as well. We have some great horse prints that we found at an auction up in Westchester, New York. This was actually an old racing horse farm that we were able to win these for. And I love how they just kind of continue the story and the identity of this English country home. You see a lot of horses, a lot of hunting scenes replicated in English country homes, so it just adds the perfect touch of English country as you continue on your journey into the living room. Now we'll take a walk into the living room. Come on with me. This living room was probably one of the trickiest rooms for me to design because there are so many points of entrance and exit. And so setting up furniture also in sort of terms of having such a large, high ceiling height has to be to scale and can be really tricky when trying to figure out. And especially when we're doing it shopping secondhand, because all of this furniture here was bought at a thrift store or through an auction or on Facebook Marketplace. We didn't pay retail for any of it. Quite honestly, some of it was free. That couch with the flowers, that was a free couch that we got from somebody's garage. So it's kind of just always being on the lookout, but understanding that the pieces have to fit in with the home. And I think that's part of the fun of it, right? It's not just going to a store, it's finding a piece, remembering that you had that moment of fun, treasure hunt moment, and you were able to bring it into your home, and every piece holds a story, which I think really connects to the idea of an English country home. English country homes that you would see had been handed down from generation to generation, and furniture in turn kind of looked a little mismatched, and it never really was planned to stay from one century to the next. And so that's what makes it eclectic and warm and welcoming. And the idea of having an English country home really fit my family's dynamic because we have a working farm in our backyard. So I wanted the formality that fit this formal living room, but yet having it be country as well. And it just kind of fit my personality and it fit the home as well. And no English country home would be complete without a portrait gallery wall, I think. If you look in history, if you look in books, every English country room has a gallery wall, has this gorgeous oil painting story to tell somewhere in their home of generations past. So no, none of these people are members of my family. They are all Facebook Marketplace finds, things that we've picked up at auctions. And as you can imagine, some of these paintings can get very pricey. We, in general, have a rule that we really don't like to spend more than $350 on a painting, including a frame. All of these paintings are original. They are from the 18th or 19th century, and they kind of came together to tell this really pretty country story on the wall. I didn't go in with any plan. I just went in with things that spoke to me. And when I saw them online or saw them at an auction, we just grabbed them. And then we've shifted walls and paintings as we've added more to our collection. I think some of the biggest, questions that I get when it comes to this home are, you put your paintings over the moldings. And that didn't bother me at all. We have these large 15-foot ceilings, and the moldings help give some dimension and give some interest visually to the upper part of the walls without having to continue the gallery up. Listen, I love my husband, but I'll probably kill him if he gets up on a 15-foot ladder to try to hang these. So we ended up wanting to stay with the first story gallery wall. And we ended up using the wall as a blank slate. We just pictured that no picture moldings were there. And we hung the gallery wall right over them. And then we think that it adds visual dimension and interest regardless of paintings being over them. It adds to the story of the home. Because these moldings were actually here originally. There were actually more moldings that we ended up paring down and simplifying them and then painting them. And then this way it left a gorgeous canvas to create this gallery wall. My favorite painting on this gallery wall is actually this one. And most people would say, well, why? This one looks old, but you can see it has such great crackling. One of my favorite tricks to tell if a painting is antique or old is that you have to look at the back. Now, while I'm not going to turn this one over because this one is very fragile, you'll see that the canvas is very dark brown, looks old, has a great patina to it, and that's really what you're looking for to make sure it's not a replica. This one came out of a house in New York, and I love how I could tell you where every single one came from. It's part of the collection, but I don't know, there's something about this gorgeous sunrise or sunset, depending on the way you look at it, that just makes me want to sit here and stare at it with a cup of coffee all morning. Part of the challenge of this living room was that it had to function for my 3 kids and the animals that come in and out, because yes, the pig does live in the house, as well as, working as an informal living room where you could kick your feet up and watch the football game on a Sunday night. This actually is not a frame. This is a picture that you can find on YouTube if you search up antique oil painting with frame on YouTube for a screensaver. I know a lot of people do a frame TV. We eventually will probably do one. But for right now, this Samsung TV is just a normal TV and it has the illusion of a frame. And using the easel helps incorporate it into the story of the room. My husband wanted the TV on top of the fireplace. I know that the design world is split in half with whether they want the TV on top of the fireplace or not. I personally would like the idea of my TV off to the side. It is not the main attraction, especially because when you walk into my home, you see the fireplace immediately. And I didn't want people to walk into a TV. Just didn't sit right with me. So we moved the TV over onto an easel to help blend it into the room and not take away from the beauty of the room. Most people will say, well, you have all original antiques, and if you know paintings and you know the painting world, this is not an original. This is a reproduction. It's the only reproduction we own. That's a George Staub painting that we had commissioned actually off of Etsy. It was a gorgeous artist in China. He painted it on a rolled canvas. We had it stretched and framed here in the US, and we think he did an amazing job. Quite honestly, it was one of the first oil paintings that we ever purchased, and I think it drove our passion to purchase more oil paintings. The fireplace has a gorgeous mantel clock, and I found it in an antique store. These were found on Facebook Marketplace. And recently I've added my fireplace screen, which came from the 18th century. Now I don't keep it there too often because it does get warm with the gas fireplace, but it looks pretty and it's nice and comfy and cozy to cuddle up next to on a winter day. I can't tell you too much about these chairs. We got these chairs on Facebook Marketplace. All I was told was that they were very expensive and we were getting them for a steal at $150 for the pair. Originally, I was kind of turned off by the color. I didn't love the idea of cream. I wanted to bring more color into my living room. And I have to tell you that they lived in this corner of the living room, they lived in this corner of the living room, but eventually they settled right here. And I think the caning is perfect because it doesn't block the fireplace, but you can still take a book and read next to it as well. It gives that purpose. And I have to tell you, a lot of people end up sitting in these chairs to have conversation in the living room. They weren't my favorite, but they grew on me. This room is the everything room. This is the heart of our house. And I love that it has that formality of a formal entertaining space, but the comfortability of my 3 kids curling up with their books and iPads on the couches. The pig sometimes jumps on the couch too. That's up for discussion. I don't like when he jumps on the couch. But you can tell that it has that all-inclusivity of formality and informal, and that is the essence of an English country home. So Pikachu came to our family about 3 years ago. We didn't want a dog, we wanted something a little different. And under our permit for our animals at our property, we were allowed to have 1 more hooved animal. My husband found him in Florida. He was actually flown up from Florida from the breeder, and he's a Juliana pig, so smaller than a potbelly pig. This is probably about as big as he'll get, but his favorite thing is belly rubs, food of any kind, and snuggling with the kids. But he is an expert at finding any crumbs or anything in the living room. But what makes me most mad about Pikachu is that he eats my cushions and eats the tassels off my cushions. And it's very frustrating because I can't keep a nice house. But again, it's part of the whole farmhouse and it's part of the story of the home, and when I look back in 10 years, hopefully I'll smile that my cushions have no tassels. We went back and forth with whether to do just a 1 statement gallery wall or whether we wanted to do both. Eventually, my love of purchasing paintings could not be stopped, and we continued with this side of the room as well, and I think it's a really nice balance. I have to say that finding a portrait painting is very hard to find in a budget. So we do have a lot of landscapes, a lot of florals, an old English country chair, and then we finished off the corners of the room with some antique sconces. Again, everything here is thrifted, nothing was purchased retail, and it's just part of the gorgeous hand-me-down look of an English country lifestyle. Now I would love to show you my kitchen nook, so come on, follow me. This is my little kitchen nook. The kitchen in itself needs to be totally redone, but I think when you guys think redone, you think brand new, but for me, it means old and secondhand. So everything in this corner, again, is secondhand, thrifted, and it adds to this gorgeous, very rustic English country look. If you look at history, most English country homes had a very bare bones kitchen. The house in the front of the homes were gorgeous and decorated ornately, and the kitchen was very basic and rustic-like. So it's kind of a contrast from what you see in the other parts of the home, but very historically accurate. You'll see a lot of error racks that have baskets, and actually in a couple weeks, my lavender is almost out. I'll start hanging and drying lavender from the rack. It'll add to the fragrance of the kitchen, and it's a natural bug deterrent. So we love to have a lot of lavender around the farm to keep the bugs and the mosquitoes away. You'll see really pretty Staffordshire antique pictures as a nostalgic nod to England. This gorgeous tablecloth was my great-grandmother's from Ireland, and we had it laid out. I feel like it's too pretty to keep in a closet, so we ended up putting it on this mahogany table, and I think it just fits the story of the kitchen perfectly. And most of these flowers I like to collect from around the house, from out in the garden, and it just adds a really pretty natural vibrancy in the kitchen. And of course, my kitchen would not be complete without antique paintings. So I think that it's fun to continue a little bit of the formality and continue the story of the rest of the house into the kitchen to make sure that it all flows nicely and fits. This table is where we'll have our family dinners, where the kids sit down for pasta, for meatball night. And I have to tell you that my family does put up with my need for antiques very well, because the kids do complain they feel like the chairs are going to break. I promise them they're not, but the chairs are definitely not as sturdy as what you might see because of their age, but they've held up well and they're champions and they champion through it. But I love the idea that the chairs are all different. I think that it just makes the table look pretty, it gives visual interest. And it's not what you see in everybody else's farmhouse. It's something unique to my house and my story. And that's why I love it. One thing that you'll notice when you come into my kitchen that always is an attention grabber is this huge copper basin. Unfortunately, for the history of it is now used as mostly a toy bin, but it is actually from Turkey, and it used to be a soup cauldron. So people a couple hundred, 300, 400 years ago were boiling and cooking soup for their village in this copper cauldron, which I think is so cool. My parents loved antiques just as much as I did. So while they were the ones who purchased this and brought it over from France, I love the color that it gives to this corner of the kitchen. I think it's the perfect pop of copper, and I think that any European, English, French kitchen is remiss without some copper in it. This is actually something that we have just started. We are going to be renovating our kitchen very shortly, and we found that if you put things on free on Facebook Marketplace, you can actually get people to help do some of your demo work. This used to be a coffee bar that went with my very Tuscan 2000s kitchen. It was very dark, very heavy, and I imagined something brighter and more open in our English country kitchen. So I put on Facebook Marketplace that I was looking to remove it and that the person could have it for free if they came and hauled it away. Turns out I had 20 people asking for my coffee bar from Tuscany. And within a day, I had the whole thing demoed and removed, which left the perfect space for this antique auction find. And eventually I see it more with a lot more blue plates, some hanging cups, and I love that it continues that story of the English country rustic kitchen. Okay, so it's time to go see the dining room. Come with me. Welcome to our dining room. This is where we have Christmas dinners, Thanksgiving, and all of the good things. But before we start, I think that we would need to start with the stunner of this dining room, which is this gorgeous hand-painted mural. This is actually an oil medium, and the artist and I designed this concept. Ironically, people ask me, they're like, well, why didn't you go with wallpaper? And ironically, wallpaper was more expensive. Some of the gorgeous wallpapers that you see were actually double the price of this hand-painted mural that we got to work and design together. One really cool thing was that when I met the artist, and she's local to New Jersey, that she came in with a watercolor rendering, something like this. And I saved it because I think it's really cool. So you can see here, this is the kitchen arch, and this was something that she designed. Now, while you see this section right here doesn't really look like what she had painted, we talked about the fact that I thought there were too many horses. Being that I've done fox hunts and hunter paces before, and no, we don't use real foxes. We just, use the scent of one. No foxes are hurt, but we thought that something more pastoral, something more reminiscent of the countryside that you would see while riding. So I used some of my experiences and things that I've seen while riding my horse across the countryside. We'll run into cows all the time, different animals. And so it was a fun kind of edit that we were able to work together through and then create this gorgeous piece on the upper half of our dining room wall. From start to finish, it probably took her about 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I had LASIK surgery during those 2 weeks, so there were many times I would come down here, I'd be squinting to see how it looked, and I was so excited to see the development of it. But she worked so quickly, so fast, and I mean, she just nailed the vision of what I told her, that I wanted something bucolic, something reminiscent of an 18th, 19th century painting, soft. We really crafted this not to look realistic, to look like it had been taken out of an old English home and just dropped here right in New Jersey. This gorgeous buffet table was actually found at the same auction from the racehorses in the foyer, that old horse farm that was up in Westchester, New York. This we scored for under $100, and I love it. I have all of my fine china in it from my wedding. And these lamps were Facebook Marketplace. These Staffordshire dogs, again, Facebook Marketplace. These fun grasses I actually cut from my own garden, and they've lived here since Thanksgiving, but I kind of like the look of them, so they will continue living here a little bit longer. But again, all of this has been thrifted and secondhand finds that we've pulled and curated together. This gorgeous mahogany dining room table, as you can guess, was thrifted. The chairs were thrifted and found on Facebook Marketplace as well. A funny story about this chandelier, and yes, this was found at auction for a very good price. We went to go take it down out of this gorgeous house in Westchester, New York, and the auctioneer got so mad because he said that apparently when people take these chandeliers out, they take every crystal off. But my husband and I were like, don't worry, we got it. We'll put it in the back of the pickup truck. And he was like saying prayers that the crystals made it. But they all made it home, nothing broke. And this beautiful chandelier was able to be reinstalled into this dining room. I think that some of the comments sometimes I get are that it's large, it can look overpowering, but I totally disagree. I think it really goes well with the story of this room, of the kind of eccentricity that this room brings, that it is a little larger than you might find in a dining room, and it just adds to the wow factor, truly. This silver table is for, you guessed it, silverware. This was actually from my mom. I told you guys that my parents really were into antiques. They loved the same kind of style. I guess maybe it's in the bloodlines, right? And so this actually was all from her. This was my great-grandmother, my great-grandmother's, and then this table makes my mom very happy that it's being used in my dining room. When we go on auction hunts, my husband and I are very much of the same taste. I think that I am quick to find something that I love and not want to negotiate. I think I lead with my heart, and I'll find maybe a painting and say, oh my gosh, we have to have it. So he kind of keeps it in check, but I'm so thankful that my husband loves the same kind of style, the same home that I do. And so we really don't ever have any design battles. I do lead with a lot of the design and send him things. Most of our text message are auction finds and Facebook Marketplace finds that we go back and forth together on our text message. But I'm very lucky that he loves the same style. I don't know if I would do well with like a really classic modern home. I'm really lucky that I've married somebody who happens to love history and antiques and collecting things as much as I do. My home is nowhere close to being done. And I think that's what makes auction hunting and thrifting so fun. It's because you're constantly after the treasure hunt. You can always feel like there's the next bargain to be had. And I really feel that COVID changed a lot of the design world when you took away furniture stores that weren't able to produce, weren't able to keep up with production, and they had to shut down. People went searching other places for furniture. And I think also with the evolution of Facebook Marketplace, it's a nicer version of Craigslist. Craigslist was a little scary, though sometimes I still use it. Facebook Marketplace is a lot easier to know who you're buying from. Online auctions became easier to use and manipulate. And so the idea of purchasing secondhand went from being something that was really kind of looked down upon to now I really think that millennials and Gen Z are pushing forward this new narrative of, what's old is new again, and you're taking away from environmental waste, you're repurposing. There are just so many lovely things about buying secondhand Not to mention that most secondhand furniture was much better made 20, 30, 40, 100 years ago than it is today. Sorry, I believe that. But, you know, that whole process of secondhand shopping really continues to have new treasures to be found. And the idea that I'm not going into a box store and saying, okay, I'm gonna redo my kitchen, because the kitchen is up next to be redone, but I'm going to take it piece by piece and I'm gonna curate with pieces that I love and connect with into a kitchen that I have called my own design and my own home. One other thing I do wanna show you guys, because I think that you cannot have a classic fox hunting scene without your fox. So we did incorporate him here into the wall mural, which I think is a fun little find. Let's go into the office and take a peek in there. My husband puts up with me and all of my crazy auction finds and sending him to 1,000 places to pick up things, so it is only right that he gets to rest and relax in this gorgeous study and office. He is my #1 ride or die. He is really my best supporter, and he loves that I'm so passionate about finding things secondhand. And again, I think you guys have guessed it, that this is all secondhand. I will tell you a very funny story. Along with that painting that you guys saw in the foyer from France, this chandelier was also brought over from France and in the overhead compartment of our plane ride home as well. We actually threw out a bag at the airport to make it fit. So the chandelier and the painting were souvenirs that we brought back from France. My parents, again, were very big collectors. They loved much of the same taste that I do, and these books, I remember as a little girl, were come in to my father as like a monthly book subscription. And I remember every month in the mail he would get a package and I would open it up and I would think it was so cool that they were real books with real words in them, obviously, but you know, you could read them, but they looked so pretty. They didn't look like library books. And eventually over time, he has this gorgeous library, and while my parents have downsized their home, I was lucky enough to inherit this gorgeous collection of leather-bound books that just happens to fit that really cool English country, you know, 1940s aesthetic of this office. These built-ins were originally here in the office. If you can imagine, this office was actually a very bright pink color. And my husband and I went back and forth with wanting to paint the shelves. I wanted to paint them the same green that you see on the walls. My husband wanted to leave them natural. And I actually agree with him, and I hate to say that, but my husband made a great choice in keeping the wood natural, because I think I would have regretted painting them all of the Narragansett green. I love that they kind of retain that historical feature of the natural wood. There are so many places for inspiration and design. I think that most people jump to home shows, TV shows, but for me, it's really about heading to the library, heading to books, heading to actual homes and museums, experiences. I'll be there with my iPhone at a mansion tour, taking videos and phone, you know, picture snaps of kitchens from the 1900s. If you find it on the internet, I really tend to stay away from it. I want my home to be something different, something that you walk into and you've never seen it before. And I think in New Jersey, you don't get a lot of that English country. You find a lot of modern farmhouse, and I think that a big misconception that people have is that farmhouse looks a certain way. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I want farmhouse to reflect more of my taste and who I am. And there are many types of farmhouses around the world, and mine just happens to really resonate with an English country one. It's the cabinet behind me is whiskey. Every year we have a Kentucky Derby party, and we collect Kentucky bourbons to have our Kentucky Derby party. We put big fascinators on, and so this is a cigar and Kentucky bourbon collection in here. So one of my favorite things out of this room are definitely the curtains. I think that this was something that we went back and forth on a lot with whether to put curtains up on this wall, because the bookshelves are so colorful and so bold and so visually heavy. But these Schumacher curtains I found online for a great steal, under $200 for actually 4 panels. So upstairs I actually have 2 more panels with them, and they were the perfect color. I love how they have a bit of green and the turquoise reds to tie in with all of the colors in this whole room, and I couldn't have been happier. One other thing I would love to show you guys is that most of my lights don't connect to outlets, because there are many tips and tricks that you can use that you don't need to have outlets in the floor. I kind of hide the plugs, but you can buy on Amazon rechargeable lights that have a remote, and so you can still use lamps without needing to plug them in. I don't know who this is. Somebody had told me that maybe they thought it was Play-Doh. This was something my husband came home with. You had asked me, or you asked if my husband liked the same things that I do. So by bringing this home, this was his gesture of, yes, he loves the same things I do. This is something I would have totally picked out, and I love that he nailed it right away, and it fit this gorgeous marble top table perfectly. I think that this was a tricky nook to decorate. These gorgeous prints from the 1830s came out of that same farmhouse in Westchester with the racehorses. And again, it continues that equestrian theme throughout the home. And he just adds a nice visual interest over here in this corner. One of the only things that we have in this room that is modern is this coffee table. And we kept it more for the purpose of not wanting to throw something out. I didn't find something that I loved enough to replace this coffee table from like a major, retail store that you have. But again, I don't mind it because it has the wood, it has the country look. It does add a bit of the modernness to it with the iron legs, but while I'm not totally opposed to modern, I think sometimes little hints of it does bring the room up to speed, and that you're not walking into a museum. So I think it flows nicely and gives a nice balance to the room. Let me take you to show you this gorgeous little English country garden that we crafted out of a space that was formerly unused. My husband worked to craft these gorgeous handmade boxes by him. We found this gorgeous arbor online, and we've grown roses all around it, as you can see. Some of those roses you saw inside my home to decorate the home. And then pretty soon we'll have really pretty hydrangeas coming up. And these hedges will need a good clip, but we'll put some more symmetry into them to create more of that English country garden atmosphere. And while my husband wants more pictures of the kids, in their wedding on the front foyer, in the foyer steps, we do want to have the wedding ceremony out here. I think one day he'd think it would be pretty to have a bride get married under this gorgeous arbor. Nav, come on, babies. Come on, my love. Hi, baby. This is the crew. This is the crew, right, babies? Are you gonna come out? Say hi to mama? Yeah, come on. Hi. What does home mean to me? Home means everything. Home is family, home is tradition, home is love, home is the place that you go to make memories, to create, to feel safe in. Home is really where you put your roots in, where you form who you are. Home lets you take chances and enables you to be yourself at your core. And most importantly, create memories that are going to last a lifetime, and be able to tell those stories back to people who visit. That is the end of our home tour. Thank you so much for joining me and seeing my home, my passion, my projects. I love that you were able to come and join me, and as always, come join me again some other time.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.